So I think recording is started because I'm able to see that that recording is in progress.
Yep.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
All right. Thanks, everyone. We'll start. The objective of this session is to get some deeper insights into jobs to be done framework. Right? So people who are working in the capacity of product owner, product managers, business analysts, even agile coaches, they might be having some context into this. What is jobs to be done? But just to give you some overview, we will be covering this particular approach with respect to product discovery, how we can effectively utilize this method while doing product discovery, while exploring about customer needs, their behaviors, how they behave differently in different contexts, different circumstances, and how we can help, how we can gather this data to accelerate the business outcome. So, which is an outcome of this particular method, which is very important, right? So, what's in it for business? It's help business in generating better outcomes, right? It could be a better adoption rate of products. It could be better revenue. Could be increasing the bottom line as well. So that's what we will explore. If we look at the agenda, we'll discuss quickly with customer centricity. Then we will touch upon the definition of a job from 2-3 different perspectives. What are the job drivers? Jobs to be done framework. We will discuss a couple of examples or case studies to understand more what we can expect from this framework and how this can be leveraged in our life, in our capacity of whatever role we play, right? And how organization can leverage this. Expected outcome would be to understand and apply job JTBT framework for better business outcome, jobs to be done framework. So that's what we want at the end of the session, and I think everyone should get a high level understanding of what this framework is all about. Should I move on?
Yes, please.
All right. So customer centricity, right? And I hope you would have seen this picture multiple times. But the reason why I put in because it is pretty much resembles the jobs to be done, right? So if you look at this from a product perspective, from a manufacturing perspective, we might be interested more on how we can make a perfect quarter-inch drill, right? Or what all features we can add, how much sophisticated it is going to be, what color it should have. But from a customer perspective, are they really interested in the category of or the type of quarter-inch drill, or they are interested in the whole, right? So they are hiring this drill for a particular task, right? For a job which they have to do, and the job which they have to do is to get a quarter-inch hole, right? To do certain activity, right? So that should be our focus area when we talk about customer centricity. The focus should be more on how we can help customers with this quarter-inch hole rather than working too much and focusing only on getting obsessed with the product, which is the drill in this case. So that's the customer-centric mindset we will discuss as we move forward. All right. What is a job? Jobs are underlying tasks, as I mentioned earlier, that customers are trying to get done. Customer demands that are specific to discrete customer types and occasion, and actionable statements that guide the design of new solution. So when I say underlying task, right? So if I'm going for a movie, right? So my job may not be to watch a movie, right? So that's an outcome, right? My job is to get entertained. Right? So that is the job which I'm trying to do as a customer, right? Especially on weekend. So jobs are certainly when we talk about jobs or tasks, jobs may vary from different context to context. Now my context could be different whether I'm watching a movie over a weekday versus on a weekend with my family, with my kids. It may vary. The jobs are not the outcomes which we are trying to measure. The job generate outcomes, right? Which can be measurable goals that customers are seeking to meet. Jobs are not the needs, I would say. They are like the objective, what a customer is trying to do. And the needs will come within the job. And certainly these are not the attributes or the features which we are trying to add in a product. Right? So as we discussed in our last webinar as well, the feature factory model. So slowly our focus is shifting towards how we can move from feature factory model towards customer centric approach, right? Building something or producing something which our customer loves, right? Hi Manish. Manish, am I audible to you? All right. Now, what all various job types which are there in use? So there are three different categories of jobs which we use. So one is the functional job, which is the basic job or the basic task which a customer is trying to perform, right? If I'm want to get entertained, right? I decide to go and watch a movie. So that's a functional job, right? Which I'm trying to do, right? Or if I have a need for a hygiene, I may go and buy a soap. That's the job which I'm trying to do, right? It's a functional job. Another important thing is the social job, right? How I want to connect socially, or how I want to uplift myself socially, right? So this is where the social status comes into the picture, right? What I'm hearing from my friends, what kind of soap is best suited for the family, or what kind of hygiene related products should I buy to improve my social status as well, right? So these are the social status related jobs. And the third one is personal emotional jobs, right? At the end of the day, I need to buy something which will help my family to protect from these infections, right? Which will help my kids to fight from infection, so that they can live a healthy life, right? So there's an emotional attachment as well of our customers when they look for jobs, or when they buy something as a product, right? Or when they hire products, right? And that's why we say don't fall in love with products. If you have to fall in love with your customers, right? So we'll discuss this as we move forward. So nothing to worry if these terms sound heavy. So this is the canvas which we use when we talk about jobs to be done. This is prepared by Strategizer, and we use it heavily. Uh, so value proposition is nothing but it's a clear and simple statement that reflects the essence of value a business must provide. Right? So if you look at the right hand side, this is customer segment which we explore, which talks about customer jobs, which they're trying to do, the gain which they're trying to expect with this new proposition, or with uh, the job they're trying to do, and some of the pains they are facing in their current value proposition, right? Which is becoming an obstacle for the product adoption, or which is becoming an obstacle for them as well to use these products effectively, right? Now, if I talk about the left hand side, this is a value map. And these are nothing but what product and services as a product organization or as a product team we can provide to our customers, so that we can minimize some of their pains and we can maximize the gains or the positive outcomes. Right? So this is where the problem solution fitment comes in. Right? As we will discuss more as we move forward. But this is how we can say that we have reached the stage of at least some fitment with respect to customer problems. Right? Our solution, our proposition is fitting into the needs, which will overcome some of the customer problems and which will maximize their gains. So that's how we map the value proposition. Moving on, so we'll discuss this part in detail, right? Especially the value proposition part. Any questions so far?
Manish here.
Hello, Manish.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, Manish, go ahead.
Okay. Apologies, first of all, that I joined late. The first thing, I keep hearing about a term called value or a business value a lot, where, whatever, you talk about agile or a scrum or anything. people keep talking about value delivering, or if you go back to earlier slide, we talk about value proposition and all. Can you please define? I hope it is not a very dumb question. What does this value means? What is this value, and who defines this value?
Okay, great question, Manish. Right. And I think there is no one size fit answer to this question. But again, as you mentioned, who defines this value, right? So this value is defined mostly by the customers, right? So what is something which is helping me to make my life easier, right? That's a value. So if you are logging into a portal, let's take an example of Facebook, right? It is helping you to connect with a wider community, with your loved one, near one, dear ones, with your family, friends. So it is helping you to establish a connect, and it is also making your life easier. You don't need to commute everywhere. You can connect with them sitting at home virtually, right? So that's a value, right? Now, in terms of tangible value, if you are in a B2B kind of organization, yes, some of the products can say, if I have to define the value, it could be like how many transaction I'm able to perform as a user, right? That's a value. If I have to talk from product manager perspective, the way product manager defines value is what is the adoption rate of my product, right? I have developed a product, but if no one is using it, then from value perspective, it's still zero, right? What is the value without adoption? So if I'm a product manager, my value is the adoption rate. If I'm a sales guy, the value is the revenue which my product is generating, right? If I'm a CEO of the organization, the way I look at the value is how my organization is performing. What are these products helping me to reduce my operational cost, or how it is helping me to maximize revenue? So from different perspective, we define value, but from a customer perspective, which is our focus area, the value is something which is helping me to make my life easier by making some behavioral changes. It is insisting me to make some behavioral changes, which is impacting my life. Does this make sense, Manish?
A lot, a lot. I'm just trying to understand here also, because there could be two aspects. One, my customer may be looking for some solution, but he or she himself may not be able to clearly define it in a value term. And it is also clearly related with the last session you had it about OKRs, where unless until you cannot measure something, that value, I don't think so, doesn't make any sense for us. Like you are saying, transactions per second, or maybe revenue, or maybe something. These are the things I believe make much more sense as a value, rather than having, I want to improve my efficiency. I don't think so that such of value is making any sense out there. So that's pretty much clear to me, and thanks for that.
Sure.
Can also little explain me about this, what value proposition canvas? I'm able to understand the right hand side of a section, but can you talk a little bit more about the left hand side section, what value map talks about?
Sure. Manish, I just gave a high level overview. I think you just joined, and we are going to discuss in detail as well as we move forward. Right?
No problem. Sure.
So we can discuss, cover in our examples, right? That would give us, all of us, a better clarity, right?
No worries. Carry on.
Sure. Thank you, Manish. Anyone else wants to talk about value with their Vikas? Right. I think this is more like a debate, right? Which everyone has different understanding of value, or in your context, which whatever you have faced. Anyone wants to talk for a few seconds?
I think you have explained it very well, that value depends on the reference. Like for the product owner, product manager, there can be a different value. For the salesperson, there can be a different value. But overall, the purpose of organization should be. So that's the overall purpose. But yes, if people will be focused on their value chain, for the product manager, if they are not able to develop a product, the people are adopting and the use is not there, then definitely the value is there. So you very well explained that.
Sure. Okay. Thank you. So we'll move on and we will discuss this particular framework, and which what Manish was also asking. So we'll just start doing this, right? So we'll start from the right hand side. So this is the customer segment, right? So when we talk about value proposition canvas, during the product discovery, we start with the research on the customer segment, right? Or the customer profile, which we call, right? So here we have taken an example of a case study, right? And this is a very famous case study from one of the retail giants in United States, right? And the objective here from the organization was to increase the sales revenue from milkshake, and milkshake was one of them premium products, right? But the sales were continuously declining, and they were worried about this declining trend, and this decided to hire a consultant from Harvard, right? And that consultant started engaging with the customers who used to come to the restaurants every day, and it was a team of consultants, I would say, and they started first of all in a traditional way by answering by asking the customer who used to visit by using some surveys or questions like, what do you feel we should have in our milkshakes, right? What do we think how we can improve the quality of our milkshakes? What would you like to have in our milkshakes, which will make you feel better, right? So they got responses like, we can have more ingredients, like we can use some dry fruits, there can be some better flavors, or some said it should have more milk, some said it should have some other XYZ ingredients, right? And they tried everything based on the feedback, but still the sales were declining. They were not, I would say, there were no upscaling kind of a trend which the organization was, or this retail chain was expecting. So they still continue to worried. And then those consultants, since obviously they had wide range of experience, they decided to use or explore this jobs to be done approach, right? Where they asked those customers, they studied some of the behavior of the customer who used to visit the retail chain shop. And what they studied is, what they observed is that most of the customers who were buying milkshake, they used to come the restaurant before 8 p.m., before 8 a.m., sorry, in the morning, early morning. So most of them were around 7 to 7:30 a.m., right? Most of the customers who were buying milkshake. And they talk to those particular groups, mostly 80% of the group, right? And they ask, what is the job you're trying to do? What is the task you are trying to perform, right? And when they ask this question, the kind of response which they get, it's, although we are buying milkshake, the major purpose is that we are trying to reduce the pain of our commute from our home to office, which is like we need to travel, let's say 80 miles, 100 miles, which is very common in US, right? Every day. So we travel for 2 hours, and we need this milkshake because uh, it helps us to engage ourselves in this long drive, considering this milkshake is very sticky and thick in nature, right? It lasts for 2 hours, and with the use of straw, we can consume it easily. Unlike if we use donuts or chocolates or biscuits, uh, these we can consume it very easily. Even banana, right? They can be consumed within seconds, and then we are lost. We don't know what should we consume, and we feel hungry once we reach office. It is something to reduce our hunger, and at the same time it is helping us to engage and reduce our boredom while we are traveling, right? So that is the job we are trying to do with the milkshake, right? So this was a very surprising response which they got from the customers, right? So if you look at the first point, the job which they're trying to do is to commute early morning. The pain which they used to have is long wait time at the restaurant, long commute can be boring. They were also feeling hungry, right? And the positive outcomes which they were expecting, right, after buying this milkshake is like thick and sticky during the journey, something thick and sticky, not the milkshake, but any product, and then a sense of engagement so that their drive is not very painful, right? So then, based on this this restaurant, which is a very famous restaurant in US, they came up with a service proposition where they prepared milkshake as a product, right? More sticky, more thicky, so that it can be retained for 2 hours during the journey for the customers. So it is helping them to do their job. It minimized some of the pain, long waiting time, which customers were complaining. So what they decided, it can be auto refilled. So they created some kiosk at the front of the restaurant. So you can just go and take away, refill it, and just go away. You don't need to come and stand in queue, right? So they made some of the changes, and then they suddenly saw the spike in the revenue, right? And one of the feedback which they got from their customer is that when I have milkshake, it's so viscous that it easily takes me 20 minutes to suck up through that little straw. Who cares what the ingredients are? I don't. As long as it is helping me to pass my journey in a better way, right? So this is the power of this job to be done framework. If we think from traditional perspective, like what all features I can add in a product, right? I can keep on adding hundreds of features, but at the same time, if we shift our focus from feature centricity to product centricity, right, or the customer centricity, they are looking for something else. Their job is something else, and if we can place our value proposition accordingly, it can do wonders for us, right? So that's the writing segment, right? Any questions on this?
Nothing from my side.
Okay.
No. Yeah.
So when we talk about jobs, as I mentioned when we started, the jobs obviously have some drivers, right? And these are triggered by certain background, certain circumstances, right? If you're going to watch a movie, now the circumstances could be different whether you're going on a weekday versus on a weekend, or a sunny day versus a rainy day, right? Or if you decide to visit a park, the circumstances are different based on the context, right? So one is the attitude, your personality, right? Whether you are flamboyant or you are a shy, or you believe in only buying expensive products as a customer, right? So the attitude, it drives certain jobs which the customer is doing. The social pressure, right? If you are surrounded by a community which is obviously very flamboyant and they are maintain a very high social status, you may also get driven by those things. The kind of background you come from, your family dynamics, your socio-economic status, that also drives some of your purchasing, I would say, likeliness. The third one is the circumstances, right? As I mentioned, whether what kind of context you have, what kind of weather it is there, right? You want to buy a drink. Now it may vary whether it's a winter, what kind of weather it is there, right? In winter, we may have a choice for certain drinks, while in summer we have choice for certain other drinks. But what is the job? The job still remains the same, right? We want to get some drinks, right? But the context varies according to different circumstances, right? Which is weather in this case, right? In summer, we may look for cold drinks. In winter, we may look for some, let's say, ginger tea, right? All right. So this is another example, right? And this talks about again another case study which I've put in, uh, which is about a job portal, right? And again, if you look at the problem statement which the organization was struggling, and we worked very closely in this, it was to increase engagement from the job portal, right? We can take from simulation perspective, we can think like LinkedIn or any other platform, right, which are there in the market. So what is the job, right? So when we did the discovery, right, obviously we don't need to be biased from the product perspective. We just need to think from customer perspective, right? What are the job a job seeker is trying to do? We don't care about the product or services at this moment, right? So when we studied job seekers, they are looking for a better job. They want to feel good among their friend circle, like they are working for a reputed company or they have the knowledge skills which are up to the mark. They want to stay relevant in the industry by continuously upscaling themselves. They also want to connect with recruiters so that whenever they feel they have or there are some certain openings, they should get notification, or whatever they are value they are adding, they should get notified to the recruiters as well, right? And connect with influencers. So these are some of the social jobs as well, right? The functional job is to get a better job, right? I would say social is to get a good among friends and circle, and the emotional is to have sense of security where they're continuously connecting with recruiters and influencers in the industry, right? So these are the some of the job seeker persona, I would say, right, which we created. Now, what are the pains which they face in their current when they look for a job, or when they are in some particular scenarios, right? They need to have multiple CV formats, right, for multiple engagements. Everyone asks for these formats. They're not happy with their current job. The job looks monotonous. They're looking for a change, but they're not getting relevant uh, offers or the calls, right? Even if they're getting calls, they're not relevant. Right? there is a threat of getting irrelevant in the industry if they keep on working in their current job or the role, and eventually it may lead to layoff as well, right? The pink slip, which is the biggest threat nowadays. Uh, right. I have not collected everything in the interest of time, but these are some of the highly rated pains, right? So what are the gains we are looking for, right? When any job seeker is looking for a better job, the first one is obviously the better career opportunities. This is the primary gain. Relevant job openings versus flooding their mailbox or the SMS with everything which they get. A better social status, upliftment, as I said, emotional connect which we have, or the social connect which you want to establish, right? I have certain better job. Now I am able to say in a society that I am working for X and Y firm, right? And shorten the lead time to job, right? This is more a technicality, but the moment I submit for an apply for any job, I should get placed, or at least I should get shortlisted, and I should get called very easily, right? Within a very limited time frame, I would say, right? So these are some of the gains which they were expecting. So this is the customer profile. So now what? And again, before coming to that value proposition, so this is how we, right? As I mentioned earlier, we had lots of jobs, pains, and gains. So we prioritize based on the customer needs, right? So what do they feel? Which pain is extremely important for them, right? Which is causing the biggest pain for them versus a moderate pain. Which gain is essential for them, right? Which is bringing more positive outcome, or something which is like a nice to have, right? The way we prioritize feature must have, nice to have, and which jobs are more important versus some of them it may be insignificant for them, right? So this survey we also did, right, to understand, get a deeper insights from the customers. Now the value map, which I think Manish was also asking, right? So if I talk about this value map, so this is now based on what customers are looking for, right, in terms of how we can help them from value perspective, how we can help them to minimize their pains and maximize the gains, and so that they can live a better life and they can see any positive impact in their life, right? That's the value which we discussed earlier. So from value perspective, any organization may decide to offer some product and services, right? Now the product is like, okay, online web portal. There was a mobile app as well, and there was a learning portal, three different portals, right, to tackle the jobs with the job seekers trying to do, right, to get a better job, to have a better social connect, to upscale themselves, right? So these are the three offerings, right, from a product perspective. Pain relievers, the kind of features which were built in the product was like frequent profile match, ability to learn new skills, connecting with domain experts, follow industry activities. In terms of gain creators, there was an option to select a premium service for active job seekers, ability to write blogs and posts, overseas job opportunities. Obviously, this is again with respect to the social connect, and SMS alerts, right? Frequent SMS alerts, which they were getting and which they were expecting when they say they want to stay relevant with respect to market opening. And if this is just give me a second. My apologies. And if you look at this particular slide, uh, this is where we map everything, right? So if you look at this value map from the customer profile perspective, so Manish, I think this is where you were asking, right? What do we do? So when we have defined our product and services, our value proposition, we match it with the customer profile, like what are the pains it is addressing. So if you look at this particular tick mark, right? So they are there when we say this is checked, right? So these are ensuring that we have tackled the pains of the customers, right, in our service proposition or our product proposition, right? So you look at those. If the customer is looking for a better social status, do we have that feature in our product? Yes. If they are looking for to minimize the pain of multiple CV formats, have we built something, right? When they say they are constantly complaining, they don't have relevant job offers, right, or threat of getting irrelevant, have we baked in our product? Yes, it is there. Now there can be scenarios where we are not able to target some of their pain or some of the gain which they're expecting. So which is absolutely fine. There is no way we can tackle 100%, right? But we as a team or as a product organization, we need to define like to what extent we want to get a fitment, right? And this is what we call it as problem solution fitment. So this is the first phase uh, before we launch any new product. So this is mostly the outcome of a discovery, right? Which we say problem solution fitment. We have validated there is a problem in the market. Customers are struggling with some problems. They are expecting certain gains or positive outcomes, and we are offering our value proposition, whether it is catering to those gains or pains, and helping our customers to do their job right, and eventually helping there to make their life easier, right? So that's what we call it as problem solution fitment, right? And the more the number of ticks, the more the fitment you have, right? And this is just a problem solution fitment, which we are calling. So this is what we do typically in the product discovery when we use these jobs to be done framework. Any questions on this before we move forward?
So just one question, Vineet. Like in previous session, we discussed about, we understand about the OKR. So how these two things are related, OKR and jobs to be done? Is there any relation for the practical point of view?
Yeah, sure. So OKR, as you mentioned, it's a good question. Thank you, Vikas. OKRs mostly fit in, if I talk about customer profile, they fit in these two segments, the gain and the pains, right? So they do not talk about the jobs which I'm trying to do, which a customer is trying to do, right? OKR talks about how, what objective should we have to maximize gain, right? If you remember, we discussed some of the OKRs, like we want to increase more revenue, we want to get healthy. So these are the gains which we are targeting, right? And some of the pains, like we want to reduce the cost. So these are the gains. Sorry.
Okay.
So it talks mostly about the pains and the gains, the objective part. But when we talk about jobs to be done, it is like what customers are trying to do in their day-to-day life, what jobs they are trying to do, what tasks they are doing, what goals they are trying to achieve, right? And how we are helping them to achieve those goals. Right?
Okay. I think, Vineet, I have a point here.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
I believe this value map could be an input for my OKR's preparation, because when I'm saying that I have a customer profile and customer is looking for some kind of pain gains and other kind of stuff out there, and then when I'm saying, okay, this is my value map, this is the way I am going to address my customers pain gain and how this job should be done. But obviously at end of it we need to measure it, because like you're saying that for a gain creators, like you're saying, ability to write blog posts, overseas job opportunities. So there can't we use OKRs to measure these stuff and then try to relate with the customer satisfaction or something like that? Because ultimately having that functionality and ultimately trying to address it, how my CSAT works for me will be the kind of OKR could be a bridge for it.
Absolutely. And I think that's what I was answering as well when Vikas asked that question. So OKR mostly fit into these gain creators or pain relievers, right? As you mentioned, now in this canvas we are just talking about the qualitative gains, right? We are not quantifying it, right? So if I say SMS alerts, right? Now it could be, when we talk about OKRs, we may define, look, how many SMS alerts we want to send in a month, right? What is our baseline? Where do we want to improve, right? Or how do we want to relieve some of the pain areas, right? How do we quantify that we have relieved some of the pain areas, right? How we are ensuring that the customers are learning new skills, right? So these can be some of the quantifiable objectives which we can set in to measure our success, right? As you rightly said.
Okay.
All right. I think this is the last part. So these are some interesting things. This is very interesting and very important. I would say the crux of overall discovery. The trigger questions, right? So we just checked in these pains and the gains which we have listed over here, right? Now there are some techniques which we use to get insights from the customers, right? and it requires some practice of these question, open-ended question. I think we discussed in our some of the earlier webinars as well, right? How to ask these powerful questions, questions which are not leading in nature, right? Yes or no kind of a question. So when we talk to customers and when we understand the pains, right? Some of the questions which are helpful is like, what makes your customers feel bad? What makes you feel bad, right? Or what makes you feel awake at night, right? If you're asking some of the operational user who is working, who is constantly complaining about something, right? So these are some of the questions. What mistakes they are making in the current value proposition? What is something they are not happy with in the current value proposition, right? What barriers are keeping your customer from adapting a value proposition, right? So these are some of the questions. How do you define too costly? If the customer says this product or this value proposition is too costly currently, when they say too costly, how costly it is, right? So we need to get some insights, right, to get to quantify things, and this can be done if we ask these open-ended, powerful questions. So which we'll cover in our next webinar in detail as well. But this I've just listed it, right? We call it a screen question, right? It doesn't talk about yes or no, did you see something, or is there any way, right? So if you see, most of the question starts with what, and if you look from gain perspective, we ask questions like, what would you like to have happen, right? To shift their focus from gain or constantly complaining to envisioning the future, right? We ask, okay, this is something bad, but what would you like to have happen, right? What is something you would like to see in the new product? What do you dream about, right? What quality levels do you expect? What do you expect more of? What do you expect less of? What is the measure of success for you, right? And again, this is something we can leverage in our OKRs as well. And what from emotionally, right? We also tackle something emotionally. What positive social consequences do you desire, right? When you look into the desired state, or when you are looking for some certain positive outcomes, right? What savings will make you happy, whether it's a time, it's the money, or the effort, right? Because these are entirely different things. So these are some of the powerful questions which we ask, right, to get insights about the pain which they are facing or the gain which they're expecting. All right. So with this, I think we have covered the job to be done framework at a high level, and some of these questionnaires which we used for getting into this context or wrapping up. This is where we normally end the discovery part or the problem solution fitment, right? I won't say the discovery, but at least we have reached a stage where we have defined a problem. We have a value proposition which is a great fit to an extent, right, to the problem which customers are facing. Or even if it is not a fit, then we are not moving ahead with this approach. We need to pivot, right? And we all know lean startup techniques, right? How we can pivot and all. So, any questions on this?
Will it be good idea to use this technique at the time of requirement gathering or backlog refinement, or any, or you what you suggest on that? This is my understanding. I can use that thing during backlog refinement and maybe in a kickoff meeting for it, or it is just I have a very limited thought process and I'm taking only 2 instances.
So I think I would take a step back even before a backlog refinement, when we are defining, when you're starting or kicking off any new initiative, right? So this is where it is best suited. Like when you start a new initiative, you're trying to build something new, or you are trying to enhance something which is already existing, right? So this is where you go and talk to customers. This is where you uh, get into this value proposition map. But as you mentioned, even in the backlog, yes, obviously, because our product backlog is something which is continuously evolving. And if you decide to add something new, right, a new proposition or something, a feature which is going to give a lot of value, you can explore this. You can use this method as well over there. All right. Questions? So the next topic would be on clean language. This will be on 13th of June. So as we discussed, right, it's not practically not possible to talk everything about clean language in such a short time. So we'll discuss this separately, how clean language helps us to get more insight from customer. It is not just for the customer, we can use it anywhere as part of our coaching journey as well. Right? So this is a very, very powerful tool which we use, right, to gain insights from people. Right?
Excited to attend that.
Sorry.
I think we'll be excited to attend that thing.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah, I believe that will be another good knowledge sharing session. So, thanks for sharing this with us. Yeah.
Sure. So thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thanks for joining this webinar. And I hope everyone will enjoy your weekend. And thanks again. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Vinay.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. And I will share these this slide and all this recording over an email. Right?
Sure.
And in case you have any queries, you can always reach out to me. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.